Hi everyone, my name is Luttrell and welcome to my reflection video. Just to bring you up to speed on my background, I currently work for the United States Army at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for the Quality Assurance Office, and what our office does is we evaluate training from the inception of the courseware through the course execution or the instruction, ensuring that all the involved parties are in compliance with regulatory guidance, and then ultimately that the courseware achieves the learning objectives for the students. About 4 years ago, I started my journey in the EdTech program. I was accepted into a competitive internship with the United States Army, and that afforded me the opportunity to pursue graduate studies. So I quickly did an assessment of what I thought was the top 10 universities in the nation that taught EdTech programs, and Boise State came out ranked number 1 on my rubric, so I quickly enrolled and began my coursework. So the video that you're about to see is going to showcase some of the classes that were most impressionable to me or one of my favorites during my time at Boise State University. I hope you enjoy.
EdTech 502, the Internet for Educators. This was my first class with Boise State University. I was introduced to Dr. Shereen Snelson. We delved into creating web pages and using HTML authoring system Dreamweaver. That was my first experience with Dreamweaver. I'd only previously worked with HTML code directly. We developed web pages using CSS templates a lot, writing HTML, and CSS code. And I was first introduced to the W3C standards and learned how to validate my code to ensure it was in compliance with these standards. That was really cool. Also, I was introduced to Fireworks. This was my first experience with graphics editing software other than like what's normally on a Windows-based system like Paint or manipulating things in PowerPoint and Word and stuff. So we created graphics in appropriate formats for web pages using Fireworks. We learned how to modify images and use image editing software of other types as well. We also learned to insert images correctly into web pages and create client-side image maps and concept maps and things that we did in one of our particular assignments. And we also learned how to apply appropriate design principles to create professional-looking websites, which was kind of a key point of that segment of the class. A few weeks later in the class, we delved further into style sheets. We learned to copy and paste code into web pages and write the CSS to position web page content. And we would write and apply external style sheets to multiple web pages even, and write and apply alternative style sheets as well. Eventually, we created our first default web page or website, applying file management skills to maintain local and remote site files and folders, and just a compilation of our work as a whole, creating navigation menus for multiple web pages from one central location. Once we had mastered the basics or the foundational skills of web page design, and we went on to build and create accessible web pages for individuals with disabilities. We set up netiquette pages so we could outline rules for learners of specific groups. We identified and applied copyright and fair use guidelines for website building and development. We outlined those things on various pages as we were building along. We learned to use internet search tools to locate high quality instructional content, and we learned how to identify what level of a Creative Commons element something had and if it needed citation or not. Towards the end of the semester, we had all seemingly mastered the foundational skills of web page building, and so then we had to build a compilation site, which we actually did as we went along. And not that they were really impressive, we were meeting the minimum standards outlined, but it was about foundation building. So we built sites like the netiquette site to develop rules of netiquette for specified groups. We developed pages with hot links that led to essential information concerning web accessibility or content of the course of a site we were building, or something of that nature. We developed an internet scavenger hunt, a jigsaw cooperative learning activity. We integrated internet resources into both these types of pages, and all the pages really. We developed online learning activities for mobile devices and developed a WebQuest learning activity that integrated internet resources as well. The capstone was a virtual field trip we developed, a virtual field trip activity that integrated multimedia and internet resources. I struggled towards the end of the class because not being in a position at work to use web building skills directly, it was difficult to apply these skills in my job. My biggest application of these skills immediately came in the form of creating an interactive disc of military regulations and books for students. Prior to the creation of this resource that I made, students were issued numerous books and Army regulations in hard copy with which to conduct research and complete their assigned work. What I created was an HTML document that I published on a CD that had an intuitive web page look, real self-explanatory, that the students could click on the regulations and go directly to the things they needed to see. So instead of receiving 50 to 65 books, the students received a single disc with all the resources on it, and this cut down on the necessity of warehousing all the paper copies in the storage room, and also made the documents word searchable so students could conduct research more efficiently and effectively. EdTech 511, interactive courseware development, was a little more than I expected. I expected kind of some multimedia work here, but it ended up being a Flash authoring course with Dr. Andy Hung. I really enjoyed the course. It was an exciting class for me. Flash was definitely something I'd wanted to delve into, and so I was excited once I got into it to find out that really what this class was all about was Flash authoring and ActionScript. I learned a lot in this class. We explored and categorized existing Flash products in the beginning, kind of to get a feel for what Write looked like, and then we learned to create basic Flash projects like the little elements that we could incorporate into animations. We learned the difference between like tweening, motion tweening movies, and all those different elements that are in Flash, and all the different elements that how you can layer them and how make different effects, and the whole layering concept, multiple layers, that was involved in the simple or complicated Flash project. Of course, like most of the class in the MET program, we participated in class discussions and online communication, and we critiqued each other's projects and shared resources and ideas and drew conclusions on our projects and the issues revolving around those projects, like troubleshooting some of the issues that always evolve when dealing with technology. In the end, we individually developed an interactive instructional program using Flash. So building a Flash web page with an instructional product in the end was the goal for this class. It kind of built on the EdTech 502 class as well, but we were learning how to build web pages in Flash specifically, and at work I had actually been tasked to build me and another individual were tasked to building a transition course from Microsoft Office 2003 to Microsoft Office 2007. So what we built was a course in PowerPoint usage and building PowerPoints in the newer interface, and explaining the differences between the two. And so we got permission from Dr. Andy Hung, and I built one module of the course, and my counterpart built the other part. So we completed the tasking at work and had a little bit of a good application of what we had learned in that class. EdTech 506, Graphic Design for Learning. This was a class that I didn't take till like the second to the last semester of completing my degree at Boise State, or at least attempting to complete my degree anyway. I could have taken this class earlier in the degree program, but when I initially started, this class actually was more about message design than graphic design, so I'm really glad that I put this off till later. I had this class with Professor Tay Jean, and I really had a lot of fun in this class, creating graphics and learning how to apply principles of graphic design while developing instructional materials and presentations. I learned how to select appropriate combinations of graphics and image representations to supplement text-based instruction. I learned how to develop instructional content and integrate those multiple instructional messages to achieve learning objectives of what would eventually become my final project, which you'll see shortly in this segment of the video. We delved into multiple image editing softwares during this course, but we primarily focused in Fireworks, which was the main program that we used in modifying all our digital content in print formats for this. This class was really fun for me, and I'm really glad I took it later on in the degree, though, because it had it helped tie in some of the things for me personally that I thought I needed to know as a designer. Now, I haven't exactly gotten to apply all these concepts and principles that I learned at work yet. I don't really work in web page design, as I've stated. I work in evaluation work, but I am a SharePoint administrator for my section, so I do get to work with the site layout for the site collections. So I'm learning to apply these things that I've learned in 506 to our SharePoint site. EdTech 513 Multimedia. Dr. Barbara Schroeder was my instructor for this class. This was probably the most memorable class for me at Boise State because of the content. It really had a profound impact on me. We delved into so many different software platforms out there, freeware, shareware, and the like. I just didn't even realize how many different programs were out there for productivity and just creation. You can see on the slide that just some of the softwares that we delved into. This was when I was really introduced to podcasting as well. I really started to learn a lot about Audacity and some of the recording softwares out there. Audacity was the one we used primarily because we were focusing on freeware that was out there for teachers and students. This class infected me across the board because of just the tools and things that were out there that we were exposed to. That was very intriguing to me and exciting to me. It actually infected my kids and family as they saw me editing things and creating and editing and coming up with new things. They started kind of doing their own experiments, creating portfolios, audio-visual, multimedia things, and the like. This caught on in my workplace as well. My supervisor and peers were seeing some of the things I was creating, and so I was tasked to develop a professional development course for training developers on multimedia for online learning. I coordinated with Dr. Schroeder and Dr. Haskell to instruct. They came out to Fort Leonard Wood and taught a one-week multimedia and online learning course for us. Actually, they did 2 seminars. I participated in the first one, and I was honored and privileged to participate in the Cool Teacher podcast while we were there. If you search the archives for online learning at Fort Leonard Wood, I'm in there. That was really fun and exciting. I learned a lot more about recording and recording equipment, and just was amazed at Chris. He is just a master at that on-the-fly editing stuff. I hope I can get to that level at some point with my skills. Anyway, this class was kind of another one of those classes that brought everything together for me. Although it was in the beginning, it was definitely a class that I benefit from as a whole.
Hi again. Thanks for watching to the end. I hope you found it somewhat informative and a little bit entertaining. I also hope that this is part of the conclusion of my journey in the EdTech program. As you probably picked up throughout the video, I mentioned at times anyway that my job doesn't always afford me to capitalize or engage the skills that I learned while I was at Boise State. So I'm really looking forward to the next phase of my life. This degree completion is going to really propel me, move me in a direction where I can challenge those new skills that I learned at Boise State and put them to work. Thanks again. Bye.